are so afraid of. Do you have a reasoning for that?
Well, I guess, the campaign finance board in New York City is kind of, I think it's a good program. It gives public fund matching funds. We are a clean money program. We match contributions from individual New York City residents. So up until the next election, from 2001 to the next election, we match $4 to $1 for every contribution up to $250. So for each $250 contribution you get $1,000 in public money. That formula has been changed, and now you'll get $6 for every dollar of contributions up to $175. That becomes effective in January, and so you'll get up to $1,050 for each contribution you receive. I think that the reason people are reluctant, while the public funds are very, everyone loves to get public funds. It's been very helpful to a large number of people who are elected to city office. We rigorously audit all of the campaigns, which is not the favorite activity for legislators, and I think that the city program has really changed the way elections are run in New York City, and it was intended to do that. That was one of the purposes, is to change the way elections are run, and I think that people are not, who have been in office a long time, I think it's a kind of scary thing. I don't think it's, maybe not, to put it in the best light, I'm so against it, but it is kind of a scary thing to change the way that we've done things for years and to have to do it in a different way. Yeah.
So our first question, which we hope will open up some debate and discussion, is there's a perception that only the wealthy dominate our state elections. Would you say that there's some truth to this view?
Well, we've looked back as far as I think it was 1988 actually, and Dean Farrick, who some of you have certainly seen in the news recently, he heads the Public Integrity Unit here in the state of New York, but he did his first of several commissions on public integrity. And they did research, they held hearings, they actually looked at this issue very closely. And what they found then, and I would submit to you that indeed it probably hasn't changed, it certainly hasn't gotten any lower. This 0.3% may now be 0.7%, but it certainly hasn't jumped. As far as my small minority of contributors that give to the legislators in power, and I think what you have to really understand about why people give campaign contributions, they give campaign contributions because they want access and influence. And there's a little saying that those of us in politics know clearly, and that is that power follows money and money follows power. So if you take that rear end, money follows power, you notice that, the same special interests are given to Joe Bruno, who's the majority leader in the state Senate, which is Republican, and Shelley Silver, a Democrat, who is the Speaker of the Assembly. So it isn't as if they're giving to an ideological bent, like I've got to give to Joe Bruno because I believe everything he says. Not the major contributors, whether they're developers, whether it's energy, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whatever it is, they give to the people in power. And therefore, and they do it for a couple of reasons. Obviously, they want to have influence from those leaders, because in New York, a leadership-driven legislature, the 3 men in a room that maybe some of you have heard about, they're the guys that make the decisions, the 2 leaders of the Senate, the Assembly, and the governor. So they give to the power, and they give often to make sure that nobody else gives any more than they do, so that their interests are protected. If you're an energy operator, or if you're a health insurance company, you don't want anything to happen to the power and what you've gotten from that power, so you keep giving to power so they don't take anything away from you. 1199, a very large healthcare union in this state, might give a little more to the Democrats, it's a union, but it certainly gives to the Republicans and gives to whomever the governor is in office. Last cycle, before Mr. Pataki in his last 4 years, they actually gave his endorsement in exchange for something they wanted. So often it's money, sometimes it's not, but they give a very small portion of special interest, give the most money. This question.
A question. I'll be quiet.
We're all
No,
speakers.
it's dialogue.
I just want to follow up. I think your question, you pointed out special interests. Your question had a feel for whether is the rich, and I guess I haven't looked at it in a long time, but if we were looking at the major contributing organizations, like you mentioned, but I mean, of course, the teachers have huge, and I'm sure I can't go into a list of
Number one.
How does it sort of, they're all special interests, I hear you, but does it balance out some so that groups not considered rich, such as the unions and the teachers, would, be giving as much as, say, business interests or one corporate interests or something like that?
Well, in Albany, if you look at the lobby commission reports, you look at the 1199 or the teachers union or the medical society or
Okay, that makes
Wilson
sense.
Eisner, which is a lobbying firm, and that's where the corporations come in. They come in through the large lobbying firms. Does Donald Trump contribute? Depends on what Donald Trump wants at the time he wants it. Does he not want the Manhattan, or what was it, the West Side Stadium? It often depends on what is before the legislature at that particular time. Donald Trump hadn't given money for years, all of a sudden was giving a lot of money because indeed, he didn't want the casinos
Right. No, I
and the
understand.
Catskills that would interfere with his Atlanta operation. So it often depends on what it is they want that's before state government. And the developers always give, but they're wealthy corporate.
Did they have an association and a sort of pact,
Not that I'm
something like
aware
that?
of.
Okay. That's very helpful.
So Frank Thompson, and our faculty capacity, the Rockefeller College's question is essentially essentially the pluralism question. Do the interest groups kind of balance out? And the answer is already organized and well-funded interest groups who are already crossed the basic threshold and are involved in the process can balance out, particularly in somewhat in systems where you can get over the basic organization first. But let's talk a little more about this. In the state of New York, 70% of all campaign funds in 2006 came in amounts of $2,000 or more.